welcome to all who are with us at this webinar, which is dedicated to campaigns dealing with waste management moves based on economic incentives for citizens who are called to adopt a certain behavior regarding their garbage. The webinar today is actually a roundtable event born out of the will of the ISWA working group dealing with communication and social issues. And this group consists of experts in communication, public relations, education, and others. We all understand the importance of building a positive dialogue with our public if we want to succeed in such moves. Before we start, I would like to thank Issam Al-Shariji. Am I saying it right? It's Issam? Okay, the chairman of the working group for supporting this meeting. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first event since he was elected to this position. So welcome, Issam, and good luck. If somebody, never met you. And I also would like to thank Saika Morelli, the coordinator of this working group that helped us so much to pursue this event and also joined us just recently and replaced Daniel Purchase. So the concept of pay as you throw is especially interesting to waste experts from countries like my country, for example, which, how to say gently, is a bit behind in terms of waste management standards. But the truth is that this situation is also has some advantages. There are a lot of people, municipalities, and other countries that we can learn from. And this is why we are here. Pay-as-you-throw campaigns were chosen by the working group members as the first topic to be a matter of in-depth learning. Since I personally started to look for presenters, I read and learned that pay-as-you-throw is a general name for a variety of forms and means of campaigns, which citizens are reporters about their waste amounts and somehow are rewarded for their behavior. So pay-as-you-throw today can be save as you throw, reward as you throw, know as you throw. There are so many variations and maybe some others that I'm not aware of. And our speakers, all the three of them, are coming actually from European countries, but different countries. So they will present different projects with different approaches. I suggest that during the meeting, you will ask a question and use the chat. I will collect the questions and pass the questions in the end of each presentation. Okay, Saika? On your behalf. And in the end of the three presentations, we will have a discussion and a brainstorm. Okay? So if everything is okay, we will start with the first presentation, and I would like to introduce Pete Koopman, which is the coordinator inter-AFAL, the corporation, which is called VVSG. Well, Pete, you will explain us, okay, and introduce yourself. This is the Intermunicipal Waste Management Organization. And he will talk about insights from pay-as-you-throw schemes in Flanders, Belgium. Go ahead, Pete.
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. I will be sharing my screen. There we go. Yes, my name is indeed Piet Koopman. I am the coordinator of Interafval, which is the umbrella organization of all intermunicipal waste management organizations in Flanders, and all municipalities who are responsible for organizing household waste policy in Flanders. And I will talk to you today about experiences on pay-as-you-throw in Flanders. Interafval, by the way, is also the national member to ISWA for Belgium. Before we talk about pay-as-you-throw in depth, of course, I will tell you something more about Flanders and the legal framework and the results we have achieved throughout decades of hard work by municipalities in waste management, and then I will go into more detail on pay-as-you-throw. Some of you, I assume not everybody, but as some of you know, Flanders is one of the three Belgian regions. Belgium, the country squished between France, Germany, and the Netherlands. It's important to address that Flanders is one of the three Belgian regions because the environmental policy in Belgium is a regional competence. So the three different regions are responsible for their own environmental policy. There are about 6.5 million inhabitants in Flanders, who is quite densely populated, 482 inhabitants per square kilometers. It's quite an industrialized region, and there are about 300 municipalities in Flanders. Although there is a trend towards mergers of municipalities, so I think in the coming years there will be less and less municipalities. When we look at the legal framework and the different competences on environmental policy in Flanders, it's important to address that the Flemish government, specifically the Flemish Parliament, is responsible for setting the general policy objectives and the framework. For instance, it's the Flemish government who decides on the different targets that need to be met by the municipalities. They also set the minimal service to be organized and what waste should be minimally collected separately. So, for instance, the Flemish government decides on a whole list of household waste streams that need to be collected separately, and it's up to the municipalities to decide on the frequency of collection also within a fixed legal framework set by the Flemish government. The Flemish government also sets minimum and maximum tariffs. So those are local taxes on certain waste streams. So for the collection of household residual waste or bulky waste, the Flemish government sets a minimum tariff per kilo and a maximum tariff per kilo in which the municipal taxes need to be complied with. Then after the Flemish government is setting the general framework, it's up to the municipalities to organize the collection and treatment of household waste. They are legally responsible for that. So it means that nobody can collect household waste in Flanders without the permission of the local municipality or the intermunicipal waste management organization. So municipalities, they decide how, when, by whom household waste is being collected within the Flemish framework. So for instance, municipalities can choose whether they collect the household residual waste through bags or through containers. They can decide on the frequency within a fixed Flemish framework, and they also choose who can collect it. They can either do it with their own waste trucks, they can outsource it to private companies, or they can organize it together with the other municipalities in their region within their intermunicipal waste management organization. Since they are legally responsible for organizing the collection and treatment of household waste, they are also responsible for financing the household waste management. They do that with a combination of income. First of all, of course, taxes from municipalities, also subsidies from the Flemish government in combination with reimbursements from extended producer responsibility organizations and so on. In Flanders, we have a strong intermunicipal cooperation since a few decades, and I think it's important to address the intermunicipal cooperation because it has allowed municipalities and the total waste management in Flanders to be very professionalized. So I think that's one of the key success factors in the results that we are having. Just a quick overview, there are 25 intermunicipal waste management organizations in Flanders. They vary in size by the amount of municipalities, the amount of inhabitants, and they also vary in activities that they are doing. The most important thing to know for you today, I think, is that intermunicipal corporations are separate organizations next to the municipalities, but they are owned and controlled by municipalities, which means that the board of such intermunicipal waste management organizations consists out of political representatives from the different municipalities in that region. And 297 out of the 300 Flemish municipalities are associated in an intermunicipal cooperation for waste management. The other 3 municipalities have either chosen to outsource it to a private company or to organize the collection with their own trucks and own personnel. When we look at the results on household waste management in Flanders, I think this graph sums it up a little bit. So just to give you the explanation, because below it's in Dutch, so you can't read it, of course, or most of you can't read it. The top line is the total amount of household waste. Then the middle green line, green bluish line is the amount of separate collection, and then below the lowest line, the red pink line, is the amount of residual waste. So you can see in 2019, which is the last year on this graph, there was about 477 kilos per inhabitant per year of total household waste, of which 333 was being collected separately, and 143.5 kilograms per inhabitant per year was still residual waste. You probably notice very quickly that there was a key turning point in history on our household waste management in 1996, 1997. I will address that further on in the presentation too, but that is the moment when a landfill ban on household waste was being introduced. So that landfill ban forced municipalities to reduce the amount of residual waste in Flanders and invest more in separate collection with the aim of recycling the waste, of course. So I will address it further, but you can see this is a key turning point in the history of household waste management in Flanders, the introduction of a landfill ban on household residual waste and household waste in general. Just to give you an outlook on the future in Flanders, and now we have 143 kilograms per inhabitant per year of residual waste. The aim of the Flemish government is to reach 100 kilograms per inhabitant per year by 2030. So the ambitions are quite high in the next 7 or 8 years. Here you can see it again in the actual numbers. So in more or almost a few decades, the household waste production went from 406 kilograms per inhabitant per year to 473 kilograms per inhabitant per year, so that has risen. Also, the separate collection has risen a good bit, of course. We went from 75 kilograms per inhabitant per year to 329 kilograms per inhabitant per year. And the residual waste went from 331 kilograms per inhabitant per year to 147 kilograms per inhabitant per year. So in 2020, we were able to collect 69% of the total household waste in Flanders separately, with the aim of recycling, composting, or reuse, of course. Although we are talking about pay-as-you-throw as an important policy instrument, I feel like this is the most important slide of my presentation, which I always include in a presentation for such a roundtable as this one, because we can talk about one policy instrument such as pay-as-you-throw, but I feel like the combination of the combination of multiple policy instruments is a key success factor in achieving good household waste management results. And there are legal policy instruments that can be used, financial policy instruments, and social policy instruments. I just pick a few out. Of course, you have seen earlier in the results graph that the landfill ban, which is a legal instrument, was a key turning point in our household waste management in Flanders, and forced municipalities to invest in separate collection. Also, the municipal regulations in Flanders are a key success factor, because municipalities are the government level who is closest to the public. So municipalities are the government level that is best placed to organize a tailor-made service to the public. They know their citizens the best, so municipalities are the best government level to set up such a service. So I think those have definitely been key for us, municipal regulations and the landfill ban. Of course, within the financial policy instruments, there are a variety of taxes being introduced, such as an incineration tax, so an incineration tax on incinerating residual waste in combination with a landfill tax, and of course. Of course, that is, I hear somebody else on the microphone. Okay, yes, that's better. So the taxes are being combined with subsidies from Flemish government or other government level to support municipalities in their investments. Also, of course, throughout the years, there have been implementing extended producer responsibility for a few or for multiple waste streams, which means that producers have become financially responsible for the collection and treatment of those different household waste streams. In Flanders, there's EPR on household packaging waste, also commercial packaging waste, batteries, mattresses, used oils, and so on. Of course, those policy instruments, the legal and financial policy instruments, are combined with social policy instruments, such as a tailor-made service. We can talk about good results in household waste management as much as we want, but as long as we cannot engage citizens to cooperate with the municipalities and adjust their sorting behavior, our waste management system is useless. So you need to motivate the public to separately collect their waste and to produce less residual waste. Of course, communication to the public is very important, as you all know from the working group on communications. You need to constantly inform the people on what you are doing in a municipality, what the results are, to address the "what's in it for me" question, of course, in order to keep the public motivated. So I just want to be clear on this slide of my presentation that pay-as-you-throw is just one instrument in a broader mix of policy instruments that result in a successful household waste management. Pay as you throw has been introduced for quite a while in Flanders, and why has that been introduced? It's been introduced because there were ambitious regional waste management policies that started in the 90s. We have a tradition of residual waste targets for municipalities, as I talked about before. And the aim in 2030 is that on average, every citizen in Flanders only produces 100 kilograms of residual waste per inhabitant per year. And municipalities are obligated to reach those targets. So they are obligated to invest in separate collection, to invest in communication to reach those targets. The Flemish government started setting up those targets in the beginning of the 90s of the previous century. And of course, they linked it with support and subsidies for those investment. So if municipalities are investing in a separate collection of a certain household waste stream, they could have subsidies from the central or from the Flemish government. Throughout the years, there's also been a progressive increase of taxes on the incineration of residual waste and landfilling on household waste. So in order to increase the costs for residual waste treatment for local authorities, they have been investing in separate collection, and a way to motivate the public in separate collection is introducing a pay-as-you-throw system. Pay as you throw has also been necessary because, sorry, just a second. Has also been necessary because you can introduce a separate collection and you can communicate a lot to the public, but you need to motivate the public, and the best way to motivate the public is through finances. With a pay-as-you-throw system, you can address the question, what's in it for me? So if citizens have to pay more for the collection of residual waste, they will be motivated to separate their waste and engage themselves in the separate collection. Of course, there's a legal basis for pay-as-you-throw in Flanders, which means that all Flemish municipalities are obligated to implement a pay-as-you-throw system. But they can choose how they are implementing it. So they can either choose to obligate citizens to use the collection bag that is being sold by a municipality. So the citizens pay a certain tax for the collection bag of waste. Or other municipalities are investing in household waste collection through containers, through bins, which have a chip, and those chips are allowing to register the volume or the weight of the waste collected, and citizens are paying by the amount of waste that they are producing. To implement pay-as-you-throw, the Flemish government is setting up a framework on pay-as-you-throw, quite general actually, but it says that residual waste should always be the most expensive for citizens. Municipalities and their intermunicipal waste management corporations are trying to achieve a full cost coverage for the collection of household residual waste. So what you are paying per kilo or per time that your container is being picked up. Municipalities are trying to set up a price for that covers the full cost. And then there is a lower tax for the collection of organic waste. Why do we still ask money to the citizens for collecting organic waste? Because in Flanders we have a tradition of motivating the public to compost at home. So it's still better, instead of setting up a whole separate collection system and investing in treatment facilities for organic waste, it's still better if you can motivate citizens to compost their organic waste at home and, for instance, use it in their own soil. So most municipalities still have a small fee on the collection of organic waste. And then there are a good bit of recyclables that are free or almost free, such as paper and cardboard, packaging waste, glass, and of course also household hazardous waste, because you want to avoid that people illegally dump their hazardous waste. The introduction of a pay-as-you-throw system is always combined with communication to the public. Most municipalities who introduce a pay-as-you-throw system have like a timetable of multiple months before the introduction of the actual pay-as-you-throw system, in which they are informing the public on what's going to happen, how much it's going to cost, and how much they can save on the costs for residual waste. And out of experience from municipalities and their intermunicipal waste management organizations, the attention for communication is a continuous attention. It's not only about explaining the pay-as-you-throw system or the separate collection. You have to continuously inform the public on what's happening with the waste and why they are paying. Pay-as-you-throw system is also introduced in Flanders on civic amenity sites. Specifically, a lot of civic amenity sites have invested in a weighing facility where people drive up with their car. The amount of waste that they are bringing to the civic amenity site or to the recycling park is being weighed, and they pay by the amount of waste that they are bringing, either by volume or by actual kilograms, so by weight. And as I said before, the Flemish government sets minimum and maximum tariffs. Those are all municipal local taxes for certain waste streams, specifically for residual waste, for bulky waste, and for construction waste also. It's quite hard from a regional perspective to give you an overview on all the different taxes that are being used in Flanders, but on average, this slide sums it up, I think. So on the left side, municipalities who choose to collect or to introduce a pay-as-you-throw system through bags. The price of such a bag, which is average 60 liters. There are varieties, of course, but let's take 60 liters of a residual bag here. Usually costs between 1.2 euros and 2.5 euros. So municipalities can choose within the legal framework of the minimum and maximum what price they are setting. When we look at the collection of waste or household waste through containers or bins, citizens in Flanders on average pay between 20 and 30 euro cents per kilogram of residual waste, and for organic waste it mostly varies between 10 and 20 euro cents per kilogram, which is often combined with a specific cost for every collection. So when the truck is collecting, the waste truck is collecting your container, you pay a fixed fee per time that you that they pick up your container, and in combination with that, you pay a fee based on the weight or the volume that is in the container. Throughout the years, a lot of municipalities in Flanders have been investing in an electronic pay-as-you-throw system, which allows the registration of waste quantities through a weighing system when the waste is being collected door to door. So there's a truck who weighs the content of the container, or being weighed at the civic amenity site, as I explained before, through such a weighing system. What is the advantage of an electronic pay-as-you-throw system is that it allows citizens to follow up on their own bill of household waste management. It allows citizens, they can mostly log into the website of their municipality or their intermunicipal waste management organization, and there they see a data overview of the amount of times that their container has been emptied by the municipality, and how much it weighed. And they can compare it with previous years. So maybe throughout the years you have tried to reduce the cost of your household waste. That's where citizens can log into the website and have an overview throughout the years. And a lot of municipalities, not all of them, but a lot of them are comparing that with like an average family. For instance, the picture on the right hand side is actually the amount of waste that me and my family have been producing in the first months of 2022. So on that website, I can choose to compare my household waste production with families consisting out of 2 members. And you can see, luckily, of course, my waste production is in the green zone. So I'm producing a lot less waste than the average citizens and families in the city that I live. Addressing the what's in it for me question is a key factor, I think, in an electronic pay as you throw system. On the left hand side, you see a picture. Most of you cannot read it, of course, but in the columns is being addressed the size of your family, so 1 person, 2 person, or 4 person families. On the horizontal rows, you can see the difference between not sorting, sorting 25% more, or sorting 40% more, and you can see, or you can motivate the public with addressing the amount of money they can save by better sorting. The most important thing, of course, and why are you investing in a pay-as-you-throw system is, of course, to reduce the amount of residual waste. And first of all, to reduce the total amount of waste, but definitely the amount of residual waste. And these are actual numbers of 5 municipalities in Flanders. I did not put the name of the municipalities on the slide, but they're just named from 1 till 5. And I could ask you 2 things probably. This is the amount of residual waste per inhabitant per year on average that those municipalities have been producing throughout the years. I could ask you here, when do you think a pay-as-you-throw system has been introduced, and what year, and what municipality did not introduce the pay-as-you-throw system? And I would hope that you would answer me that in 2019 they have been investing in a pay-as-you-throw system, because you can see in all the different municipalities, except in municipality number 4, the amount of residual waste per inhabitant per year has decreased quite a bit from the blue bars to the orange bars, and is continuing to decrease into 2020, which are the gray bars. And you can see municipality number 4 is the municipality who chose not to introduce an electronic pay-as-you-throw system as in the other municipalities. So not in 2019, but in 2020. So you see here from the blue bar to the orange bar, there's barely any difference, not a significant difference. But then they introduced the electronic pay-as-you-throw system in 2020. So you see that the amount of residual waste per inhabitant per year has decreased a lot. When I look at the experience of municipalities on introducing a pay-as-you-throw system, there is often resistance from the public at the moment of introduction, despite the amount of times that you communicate with the public what you're going to do, what's in it for me, how they can save on their costs. So first of all, since there is quite a good bit of resistance from the public, you need political courage and perseverance to introduce the system. You need to be continuously communicating to the public, and of course, since you are, since people need to pay for the amount of waste that they are producing, you also need to combine it with a high level of service. So for paying for their waste, citizens expect a high level of service. But in most cities and municipalities, we see that after 1 year or 1 year after the introduction of an electronic pay-as-you-throw system, the acceptance is very high because citizens then realize they have control over the costs through sorting and the prevention of waste. And citizens also see that they are only paying for the costs that are involved for treatment of their own waste, and they are paying less for somebody else's waste. To end my presentation, I have summed up a few success factors on the household waste management in Flanders. I think the strong policy framework and the high ambitions from the Flemish government is definitely a success factor. You need to have a strong ambition to set the targets, but from a municipal point of view, we also feel like the municipal responsibility for organizing the collection and treatment of household waste has been a success factor, because as I said before, municipalities are the government level who is closest to the citizens and the family, and is therefore best placed to organize or set up a tailor-made service for the public. And just a few examples of that tailor-made service to the public. So on the right-hand side, you see a picture of the collection of household packaging waste through bags, but on the left-hand side, you see underground collection systems. A lot of cities and municipalities, densely populated areas, are investing more and more in underground collection systems, also above ground, but mainly underground collection systems. So people who live in an apartment who usually don't have enough room or a lot of room to storage 2 or 3 separate fractions of waste, they can bring their waste to such a collection point underground, and they can get rid of their waste anytime they want. The picture below is a picture of such a civic amenity site in Flanders, on which citizens can sort sometimes up to 30 different waste streams, going from their construction waste and their packaging waste to the corks of their wine bottles or other bottles. So they have a wide variety of waste fractions that they can separate. And I think I have addressed that more than enough. The main success factor, according to me, is the mix of policy instruments, legal policy instruments, financial policy instruments, and social policy instruments. And pay-as-you-throw is just one policy instrument within that important mix. And just to conclude, every few years, the Flemish government is measuring the how satisfied the citizens in Flanders are with their waste management service in their municipalities. And the last research revealed that 83% of the inhabitants in Flanders are satisfied with the waste management in his or her municipality. And I assume that's why, that's the reason what we are all doing it for happy citizens, of course. So I think that's also one of the main objectives, is to have happy citizens. All right, thank you for your attention, and I'll gladly answer questions. There we go.
Okay, thank you, Pete. It was really a very good presentation to begin with. And we have here some questions. I will try to join a repetitive question together. The first question is, how do you deal with contaminations in the recyclables, or how do you deal with people that choose to dump their waste out of the system?
Yes.
I don't know. Or maybe somebody is writing here that people may burn it in their backyard. Okay, it's a clear question.
Yes. Of course, all the policy instruments for organizing the household waste management also need to be combined with other policy instruments to avoid illegal dumping and illegal burning of the waste in the garden, of course. So there are fines for people who are burning their waste in their yard. There are also fines for illegally dumping your household waste. Municipalities are really making it a priority to go through that illegally dumped waste to look for any identification papers, so it's clear from who the illegal dumping is, and the fine can be put on that person or on that family. And when it comes to contaminations, so the biggest success factor, according to me, is a good equilibrium between your tariff setting, so the height of your tax, in combination with the service that you are delivering to the public. If you have a high service delivery for separately collected waste, together with a smart tariff for residual waste, and municipalities have learned throughout the years what the optimum is a little bit in setting up the price for residual waste. They know out of experience, if you set that price too high, people will dump their residual waste into the separate collection. And that's something you want to avoid, of course. So I think it's an equilibrium between the frequency of collection with the height of the tariff, and all those different instruments, or the mix of those different policy initiatives come together and are avoiding people to, or it's making people avoid to throw their residual waste into separate collection.
Is there any way to continuously sample the waste and give feedback to citizens so they know if they are really good separators or not?
Yes. So on a regular basis, both the Flemish government, but also a lot of municipalities are doing a sorting analysis of the residual waste. And such an analysis, there's always a report coming that reveals how many recyclables are still in the residual waste. Like, for instance, now a sorting analysis of the Flemish government shows that in the residual waste in Flanders, there's still up to, on average, I think out of my head, 47 kilograms per inhabitant per year of organic waste into the residual waste. So that has been or that is a reason for the Flemish government to set higher targets for municipalities to invest in the collection of organic waste. So both the Flemish government and municipalities are investing in sorting analysis to show if people are sorting their waste well or not, and if they can adjust the local policies.
Okay, thank you. Some people are asking if there's any report available about pay-as-you-throw in lower or middle income countries. So if you have any article or any report, you can put a link in the chat, and we'll try to choose another question. And I'm asking you, Pete, if you can follow the other questions that we don't have, since we don't have enough time for all of them, if we can just, answer them shortly. What are, since we are a communication working group, so somebody is asking here, this is Isam, what are the channels used to communicate the residents?
Those are different channels combined together. So Municipalities and their intermunicipal waste management organizations have written communication to the public. So a lot of municipalities provide a monthly or 4 times a year a magazine to the public in which the public is being informed about separate collection or what is being done with their separately collected wastes. They combine that with communication through the website, of course, but they also use social media. So it's yeah, a mix of communication. And the last couple of years, there's also been a trend towards more face-to-face communication. For instance, if employees of the municipality or the intermunicipal waste management organization, if they walk around in the city or in the municipality and they notice that the bag of household packaging waste is not sorted well, they actually ring the doorbell to inform the people on how they can adjust that to avoid that the waste truck is not picking up their bag, because of course that happens now and then too. If it's not well sorted enough, the municipalities or the waste collector says, I'm not taking this in because there's too much contamination in it. So then stewards are ringing the doorbell to inform the people on how to collect their or separately collect their waste in a good way.
Okay, thank you. Pete, you will stay with us, right?
Yes. Yes.
So after Vanya will present her topic, maybe we'll have questions for both of you. So I'm gonna introduce Miss Vanya Veras. Vanya Veras, she's the Secretary General of Municipal Waste Europe, and she will speak about future plans of EU to improve separate collection and expand the pay-as-you-throw experience. Please, Vanya, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just take a second to share my slides. Here we go. And there we go. So I'm just going to see if, yeah, I'll just minimize the cameras so I can't see you. And I'll check the questions afterwards. So thank you for the invitation. This is an important topic and the top of the list of the Commission's work that they are currently doing to prepare the next revision of the Waste Framework Directive. Just a minute, because my slides don't want to change. There we go. Wonder if I can go up. Okay. Right, so first of all, Municipal Waste Europe is a non-profit European umbrella association representing public responsibility for waste management. We were founded in 2009 and we are based in Brussels. Our members are national, regional or local organizations or authorities who hold public responsibility for municipal waste management. Interafel, who Piet represents, is one of our oldest members. In total, we have 21 members and observers at the current time, and all of these are EU member states. So coming to separate collection, because pay-as-you-throw is a part of a separate collection system, and it is used as a tool, as Pete already explained, to promote, to encourage people, citizens, to use the separate collection facility. And in that way, to encourage the creation of a circular economy and to increase the quantity of recyclable wastes which are available to be recycled. At the beginning of the current Commission, College of Commissioners, which was COVID has lost my timeline. So let's say about 4 years ago, the European Green Deal was published. Now, this was the first time that a European policy document brought together all aspects of European policy, so all legislation, and linked it with environmental legislation, environmental goals, and goals to mitigate climate change. This has started not only the planned revisions of legislation such as the Waste Framework Directive, which is revised on a 5-year cycle, but also the revision of a lot of other legislation and much deeper revision than would have previously been the case. So this includes, for example, product legislation. In terms of separate collection, the Commission was tasked with looking at how they could harmonize that in order to increase both quantity and the quality of waste for recycling, which is separately collected today. We also have the circular economy packages, another edition of which will be published soon. And this leads the European economy from a linear to a circular economy. The 2018 revision of the Waste Framework Directive was one of the first changes there, where the structure and form of this directive was modified to support the move to a circular economy, also through the addition of the separate collection of more waste streams, including textiles. So for a circular economy to be a reality or to become a reality, all actors in a production and waste management cycle need to be linked up. And therefore, we need to have a much more effective, efficient system for recovering waste, not only from citizens, so municipal waste, but also from commerce and industry. Just a quick reminder, municipal waste is only 10% of total waste in the majority of countries. So one aspect of improving separate collection, also as Pete mentioned, is to improve and increase the coordination of extended producer responsibility systems with municipalities. But I will say a little bit more about that later. The Joint Research Centre, which is a research body belonging to the European Union, has been working on the harmonization of separate collection since 2021. And that is part of the revision of the Waste Framework Directive, which is due to be published in 2024. That will be the most likely the beginning of the European decision-making process. It is planned to be the end of it, but very often there are delays because of the discussions during the decision-making process. Just give me one moment. Okay, so what is this research centre looking at in terms of harmonizing separate collection? And the reason that they are looking at harmonization, there are many reasons, but a key reason is to ensure that the messaging at country level or even at European level on what to separately collect and why it's being separately collected is the same. So it is easy for citizens to understand what they should be separating where, no matter where they are in the EU, at the office, at the gym, at home, on holiday in a different EU country. The Commission is aiming to give the same separate collection system throughout Europe, or as similar as possible. So they're looking at harmonizing bin colors, harmonizing labeling, so labeling of the bins according to what is supposed to be collected in that bin, harmonizing or extending economic instruments, including pay-as-you-throw and deposit refund systems. They're looking at frequency of collection and which types of wastes can or are being successfully commingled today. Now, to complete this thought, at Municipal Waste Europe, and there are many stakeholders who are of the same opinion, we do not agree that bin colors should be harmonized. I'm just going to check that I'm not saying this on the next slide. Yeah, I am, so I'll say more about that in a moment. Labeling, you will hear more about in a moment as well. We are very supportive of harmonizing labeling. Economic instruments, yes, they can be strengthened, harmonized. This is a very local issue. It's a national, regional issue. And there is not a great deal of harmonization that could happen at EU level, which would be helpful to member states, aside from perhaps minimum requirements of a pay-as-you-throw system, if it can be implemented as such in member states. And I'll tell you in a moment why there is that if. Frequency of collection would absolutely not be something that can be harmonized in a cross-country or inter-country level, because this is entirely local. It depends on the local situation and whether it's rural, densely populated, and also how frequently particular waste streams in that area are being generated. Commingling, again, of several waste streams, this is not something that can be developed and harmonized at European level, because the type of waste which is collected in the same bin depends entirely on the separate collection and treatment system which follows. So that depends on existing and future investments which member states will make themselves. And therefore it is again a local issue and the local decision. So following on to the reasoning behind which we do not believe in the possibility of harmonizing bin colors, this would be counterproductive for at least 3 reasons. The first is that the high financial costs of replacing all bins in the EU. Second is that it would be extremely wasteful in terms of materials. A bin that exists and is functioning should not be replaced, even if this were to be implemented on a longer timeline. So replacing the bin with a new bin in the new color when the old bin has come to the end of its life, this would cause enormous differences in implementation from one area or one country to another, and it would simply be a mess in terms of coordination and implementation, which is hard enough as it is. The third and possibly the most important reason is that it is entirely inflexible. There are member states who have been used to a certain bin color for decades. Their citizens are used to that bin color, and also they collect certain, this is where commingling comes in, certain different materials in their bins. If we look at packaging, there are some member states that will collect only plastics in plastic packaging in the one bin, or metals, glass separately, paper separately. And there are others who will mix plastic, carton board and metals, others only the carton board and metals. And if you have a harmonized bin color, this flexibility is not possible. And again, the flexibility is necessary because the way that the waste is collected corresponds to the existing sorting system in the country. A very important aspect of implementing a separate collection system is, first of all, the system must be convenient, so easy to understand, easy to access for the citizen, but also there is no point in having an excellent separate collection system if you do not have the investment following that to sort and treat that waste appropriately. In the EU, that would be following EU legislation and reaching EU targets. So as Municipal Waste Europe, we support a voluntary labeling system, which is based on the Nordic pictogram system, which again, I will explain in a moment. Right now. So what you can see here is an example, an extract of many different pictograms, which were developed by Denmark in 2016. Denmark started to implement these pictograms in 2018, and now almost all municipalities have implemented it. They call it a Lego brick system. It consists, as you can see, of a background color. If you look at purple, this is plastic packaging, and you can see hard plastic, that's the one bottle on its own, and flexible plastic, that's the bottle plus the other package. So the idea of having these pictograms, these at the top, I will explain because it's in Danish. I know I don't speak Danish, but I can understand this. You have from left to right, the carton board on a brown background. You have metal packaging on a gray background. You have green for glass packaging. It's almost self-explanatory, which is also the beauty of this pictogram system. Transparent glass is the outline, colored glass is the filled in bottle, and then you have the purple background for the plastic bottle. Now, this is also a good system for another reason. It connects the waste management stream and the waste management operators with the producers, because the producers will put this label on their packaging when we are talking about packaging, but it applies to all products. And the same symbol will go on the bin, as you can see on the right-hand picture, where this package should be recycled or separately collected so that it can be sorted and recycled afterwards. And as you can see in the right photo, there are 3 different symbols on that bin. Because this is Denmark, and because it is a particular municipality in Denmark, another municipality in Denmark, or a municipality, for example, in Sweden or Norway, who also have implemented this system, or Iceland, for example, can choose to put different labels on their existing bins. And this is a free system. So it can be downloaded and printed onto any medium that a country or municipality would like to print it on, in order to assist their communication with the citizens and improve the quality and quantity of the separately collected waste stream. I haven't put an image here, but these labels are also available for civic amenity sites. And the Commission is looking into this very seriously, the Joint Research Centre, and to adopting this or something similar in the new Waste Framework Directive. Okay, now I move from separate collection, which is the basis to pay-as-you-throw, into the details of pay-as-you-throw, and I've given you some examples of countries where we have more experience, but I also personally have more experience of pay-as-you-throw. So Slovenia, we did a project with Ljubljana, in particular as Municipal Waste Europe, in order to share this pay-as-you-throw system and what they did with other countries. So they took a step-by-step approach, and this was done by all countries which have introduced, a pay-as-you-throw system. But the difference is that Slovenia did it more recently. So before introducing a pay-as-you-throw system, ensured that a convenient and functioning separate collection system was in place with the appropriate treatment capacity to follow. This is something I mentioned earlier. Then, after that, the first step of designing a pay-as-you-throw system was to separate waste management fees from general municipal fees, which group all municipal costs which citizens contribute to, including small road repairs and lighting and such like. It has to be a transparent fee first before you can create a pay-as-you-throw system. In the majority of cases. And there are some member states where this is legally not possible. I will give you an example. And so as part of that first step, or invoicing, which is not an easy thing, must be organized, and also the level of the fee must be set. As one of you asked, and as Pete answered, it is important to set that fee at a reasonable level so that it encourages citizens to do the right thing and not to dump their mixed municipal waste into recycling bins or elsewhere in nature. So the payment always is associated with the part of the waste which is not recyclable, or the part of the waste that does not have a producer that can be identified, so there can't be an extended producer responsibility system. So that is always municipal waste, which is, it should only be collecting non-recyclable waste, but it also applies perhaps a smaller fee to bio-waste. The second step that Slovenia took was to link the citizen ID cards with the waste bins, so that for mixed and for bio-waste, so that citizens would go up to the bin and show their card, and then it opens the bin, and there's a volumetric based, just the space, so it's the volume that decides how much that waste disposal will cost. And once the lid is closed again, then there is an automatic invoice that is sent to that citizen, to their home. And that is why it's pay as you throw. The less they throw, the less they pay. They followed this with a widespread intuitive communication campaign across all media, and the introduction of charging for mixed waste. So there was no charging before the communication campaign. This came only after the communication campaign, even though the bins were already installed. Communication campaign was on television. They made videos linking the responsibility with a positive message, with local heroes or local pop stars, famous people. And it was also on the usual places for advertising, such as bus stops and also door to door. The third step that they took after a minimum of 6 months. So first, it's important to allow citizens to get used to paying for their mixed municipal waste, so their residual waste. And after this has become a habit, which can be anything between 6 months and a year. This is also a local decision. Then a separate bio-waste bin can be introduced with charging. At the beginning, there was no charging for the bio-waste bin, but the separate collection was introduced. and the charging was also introduced perhaps after 6 months. This helped, instrumental in taking Ljubljana landfilling from 60% down to 10% in under 10 years. So, yeah. And this is an example on the photo on the left, is an example of above road separate collection bins, which would be in a more rural area or the outskirts of the city where there are wider roads and more space. And on the right is the underground separate collection system, which would be near high-rise buildings or in the densely populated urban areas and center of the town. Okay, now we pass to Portugal. Now, Portugal is a completely different situation to Slovenia because their legal setup does not allow for direct charging of waste management fees to citizens. So they cannot implement in the current conditions a pay-as-you-throw system as described for Slovenia. What they have done to encourage citizens to sort their waste into the separately collected fractions is they have linked the success of that municipality in collecting both quantity and quality of separately collected waste for recycling, which they measure at regular intervals. Their data gathering in Portugal is extremely good. And so they link success with and achieving recycling targets, or at least being on the way to achieving recycling targets, with local investments. And these can be anything from improving road structure to bicycle lanes to local parks, playgrounds, football fields, and anything else that locality, municipality might need. Then we have Germany, which started pay-as-you-throw a very long time ago. There are various systems in the different Länder, which are, it's a federal country, so, and each land has its own environmental laws. They have, each land has the responsibility for environmental law. But the most frequently used system in Germany is the opportunity. So it's a bin based. There are different sizes of bin. And as a householder, you can say, okay, well, I recycle most of my waste. And I compost at home, for example, and so I only need a very small residual waste bin because I don't generate more than that amount of residual waste. So even a family of four can opt to have the smallest size of bin. That will be the cheapest bin. The bigger the bin for residual waste, the higher the cost. But if that household generates or starts to generate more waste because the number of residents in that property increase, then they can ask to change their bin size, and they must change their bin size, otherwise their waste will not be collected. The remaining fractions are collected without charge, apart from bio-waste, which is charged for, and of course in all of these countries it is possible to recycle the bio-waste at a civic community site, or there are some countries, including Germany, where home composting is encouraged if you have a garden. So I'm just coming back to Belgium. I know you've just heard all about the Belgian system. Mm-hmm. I just want to...
and Vanya, I'm sorry, but we are a little bit...
over time? All right.
Yeah,
okay, so just
we're okay, but try to...
I'm nearly done. I think it's the second to last slide.
Thank you.
Thanks. So basically, I just wanted to point to the fact that this is what the bags look like in Belgium when it is a door-to-door bag pay-as-you-throw system. The white bag is the one that has the stamp of the municipality on it. If you live in that municipality, it is the only bag that you can put residual waste in if you want it to be collected. And you buy it at the supermarket. You buy all of these bags at the supermarket. But because it has the stamp of the local authority, you pay an additional charge. So it will range from €2 per roll or per packet of 10 bags and upwards. And most of that is the waste management charge. So it's another way of introducing pay-as-you-throw. EPR, if EPR doesn't work, pay-as-you-throw won't work. So EPR for the recycled fractions. And that's it. And I will take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. I just have a small question in order to clarify some data. Did you say at the beginning that only 10% of the European municipal waste is household?
No, I said that only 10% of any country's waste is municipal waste. The rest is commercial and industrial waste, which includes construction and demolition waste. So 90% is commercial, industrial, and construction and demolition waste, and 10% is municipal waste. All the focus, all the discussion on pay-as-you-throw, the Waste Framework Directive, it's all based on that 10%.
Okay.
So one of our key demands to the Commission in the revision of the Waste Framework Directive for 2024 is to include separate collection obligations for commercial and industrial waste. And they're supposed to be looking at construction and demolition waste already.
That's quite a lot of efforts in order to, for only 10%, isn't it?
Yes, but even though one might say it's only 10%, it's still a lot of waste.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A few questions are regarding the pictograms, if it's mandatory for countries that are using that, and if it's free of charge if another country or another municipality want to use that.
It is currently free of charge. They have their own European level organization now called EU Picto. And no, it is not mandatory, but when it is integrated into the new Waste Framework Directive after 2024, it will most likely be mandatory at European level. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I have a question for both of you, PAYT and Vanya. To my understanding, actually, pay-as-you-throw, the way you present it include two interventions. One is giving the information to the citizen regarding the waste he produces or the waste he recycled or separates or whatever. And the other one is giving him incentives.
Yes.
Did you ever check if, did you try to separate it and use only information and feedback without the financial incentives?
Pay-as-you-throw is a financial incentive because you're paying. The less waste you put in your residual bin, the less you pay. So it is a reverse financial incentive. You're going to pay for your waste anyway, but the better you sort, the less you pay.
I understand, but did you ever, so I read that a report about know as you throw schemes, which in Italy, they tried it with only giving information and not using. So do you have any data regarding to?
No, I've never heard of that before, but from the studies that I've seen, there's always a proportion of the population who you don't need to encourage to sort their waste. Sure. They're just waiting for you to organize the system, and they really want to separate their waste. That might be maybe 30% of the population. Then you have another maybe 40% of the population, so taking you up to 70%, who will do it with a little bit of a push. So communication and an incentive will help them. And then you have the last 30%, 20 to 30% of the population who really don't care. So to get them in, you need a pay-as-you-throw system, and eventually you need also a penalty system if they don't do the right thing.
Okay, Vanya, are you staying with us? Yes?
I can stay with you, yes.
Okay, so we will move on to Professor Alexandra Anik Vucinic. Alexandra, it's about time that I will know your last name, right?
Hello to everyone. Can you
my
see
friend.
me? Can you see my presentation?
Alexandra will introduce us to another system, which is the deposit system as a rewarding system, as a rewarding scheme, and as a social category.
Can you see my presentation?
Alexandra, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Now I can hear you too. Thank you for inviting me, Riva. I am a member of ISWA, Croatian ISWA. I'm a president of Croatian Association of ISWA and work also at faculty. I'm in environmental engineering and I'm in waste management for a very, very long time. And it was nice to hear these two presentations. They are quite successful. They told us quite successful stories, and they showed us that it is possible to introduce the system. Croatia is in European Union, as you know, from 2013, and we made quite a big effort to in the last 15 years, when we started to negotiate with the EU, we made quite a big effort to put our waste streams into circular economy streams. But we are not so rich country as the examples we saw and successful stories and successful countries. We are not so rich, and therefore I will tell you our scheme. I will explain you our scheme, but also the problems we are facing with introduction of the system. So I will tell you how we introduced and what are the results of our deposit system, which we have from 2006. But before that, I would like just to give you a short situation of waste management system in Croatia. Since we are member of EU, we implemented all legislation in all the directives in our legislation, and we are trying to do the best we can, but it is not so easy. So in 2020 we produced we are about 3.8 million, so we are not so big. We are low income countries still, although we are in EU, but we are not so rich. We are a bit poorer than, for example, Slovenia, the example we saw. And I have to tell that Slovenian municipal companies, since they are our neighbors from Ljubljana, the municipal company last year, it bankrupt because the system was too expensive. So the financial to run successfully separate collection, it is okay, but when it is affordable for the countries. We are trying to do now the same system in Croatia, but we have 10 times lower taxes. And this is the problem. We cannot rise the taxes because it will be more than 3% of our general income. I think this is the the limit we can increase our spend in municipal solid waste management. So we produced 1.6 million tons of municipal waste, overall municipal waste. It is 480 kilos per capita, and it is the decrease from the year before, but it is due to COVID situation, because we are a touristic country. We have very long coast and lots of tourists. The ratio or the share of tourist waste that tourists generate is about 10%. So since there was no tourism in last 2 years, we saw that on our waste generation, and we had 7% of decrease of production of waste. What we succeeded, we introduced a separate collection system, and I will tell you later about our environmental fund. We gave to our municipalities 1.7 million of bins. It was through European funds. It was very expensive, but we used European funds, and when we gave that bins to our citizens, we have in 2020 we have 41% of separate collection.
Alexandra,
when we
hold on for a
started
second.
to manage
Alexandra?
waste management, we started to manage our waste
Alexandra?
according to EU regulation and to fulfillment of the targets that were set up, and we are obliged to fulfill them. We had in 2000, it was in 2006, we had almost nothing. We had more than 700 dump sites, not landfills, but dump sites. Now we have about 100 landfills that are still open, and they are taking not treated municipal solid waste that is collected. We have 100% coverage with the collection. That is very good. Our plan in 2006 was
Alexandra,
13
Alexandra, I'm
waste
sorry.
management centers, but since it was planned to build from the European money, from EU funds, the regulation for application for that project is very complex and very long. And since today we succeeded to build only 2 waste management centers, capacity about 200,000 tons of municipal solid waste in the coast. One is now in probation work, and one will be in operation next year. And this is not good, because we are still landfilling more than we are allowed, so probably we will pay the penalties. But something that we are rather good are the special waste categories. We introduced systems in 2006, and the green things you see, the green checks that
Alexandra,
are the.
Alexandra, I'm sorry.
I can hear you, Riba.
Your slides are stuck. So for me and for the others, you are still in the first slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. This.
Okay, so change the mode to presentation, maybe, or check what's wrong with that.
Is it
I'm
moving
sorry,
now?
but I tried to stop you before, but
okay, is it moving now?
no,
now?
We still see only the first one.
No, something. Just a second, please.
Okay, there you go.
I will remove this.
Okay.
Hear me now? Is it moving now?
Now yeah. Now it's okay. Sorry.
Okay. But I'm still on the second. So we fulfill the targets for these special waste categories. So for VEE, waste tires, batteries, and vehicles. And in the deposit system, we are also very, very good. I will show you, we have a very high rate of efficiency, but industrial packaging waste and other packaging that is collected through separate collection system door to door, we are rather bad. So our main player in our waste management system for deposit system is our environmental fund. So our environmental fund is a fund that is established by the government, and the ministry is running. Our ministry for the environment is running the fund. Fund has the board. It is not in the budget, in the state budget. It is budget. It is not the money that goes into the fund. It is not under the government budget. It was established in 2004. In 2006, the first employees came, and then today there is more than 350 employees. It is the board that is authorized to run the fund. There are different representatives from different sectors, and the fund is in charge for running of a special waste category system. It is something like EPR organization, but run by the state. And it is in charge for different energy efficiency projects. So about deposit system, our packaging waste, just a second, something is wrong with my battery. Okay. About our EPR scheme, our producers are obliged to pay the tax for every amount of packaging that is put on the market. So we have three different streams. One stream is the stream of deposit. The second stream is packaging, is the stream that is produced by by some companies or shopping malls or other entities. And the third stream that is yet not covered very well is the stream of packaging that goes into separate collection system door to door. So how it is organized? Deposit system, it is obligatory for all kinds of beverage, which has a volume less than 0.2 liters. It is not obligatory for beverage bottles bigger than 3 liters, and some special beverage bottles with unusual shapes. There is no obligation for that. So for every bottle, the producer is obliged to pay 0.5 Croatian kunas. It is something about 0.06 euros. It is regardless the shape, the material, the packaging. And what we had one experiment with, we have a milk in a plastic bottle. So from last 2 years, the milk beverage is also included in the system.
Alexandra, can you
yes.
maximize the presentation?
It is. If I maximize it, then you won't see it. So
Here at the
can you see it now?
It's a little bit small, and people are really interesting, so they are asking me to.
No, I can't. This is the biggest I can.
Okay.
So we have an obligation, just a second. The producer has the obligation to put the label, here it is, the sign for every packaging that is in the system, and we have also GTIN code. It is also obliged and prescribed by the law, and we have two different possibilities for the acceptance. It is manual and automatic. Automatic is by the reverse vending machines, and manually it is by hands, by people, employees who are working in the shops. So every shop where the beverage is sold is obliged to take back the packaging, but it is only for that shops that are bigger than 200 square meters. In the last 2 years, we also made a new regulation that every recycling yard is obliged to take the packaging in the deposit system. So when we introduced the system, we had very big problems because there was no labeling, and then we had suddenly in 3 months amounts like that they are produced in 1 year, because all the neighborhood countries started to collect bottles and bringing to us and taking 50 lipas. So after that, we made a line that only 80 bottles per day, per shop and per person can be given in 1 day, to stop this unusual hit by other countries. People were very, very creative how to bring packaging into our system. So it was a problem, like we needed 1 year to solve this problem. But what happened when we introduced the system, in 3 months, Croatia was totally clean. 50 lipa amount we are giving back for that deposit system is very big money for us here. So for 80 bottles, you can earn 5 to 6 euro, and you can have a lunch for that for 1 day. But so that was encouraging for all the people to collect bottles from the floors, from everywhere in the nature, and to bring it to the shops. So I don't know if you see that our environmental fund, the yellow one, it is the institution that is main and in charge and running all the participants in the system. So when the system started, we made a concession to recyclers, and when I'm talking we, I mean environmental fund, because I also work for them. The concession was given to the recyclers for the glass, for the PET, and for aluminum and ferrous cans. Then environmental fund and ministry, they also gave concession to collectors, and so there were authorized collectors who collected the bottles from the shops and bring it to packaging centers, so that were collection points where the packaging was again counted. It is still counted automatically, and then baled and transported to the recyclers. So what are the fees? I don't know if you see here. So what are the obligations of the producers? The producer is first of all consumer. Consumer, every time when he buys a bottle, he pays these 50 lipas. to the shop. The shop gives that 50 lipas to environmental fund, and then again when it turns the 50 lipas are given back from fund to the consumers. The point is that these 50 lipas, they are not 95% of 50 lipa are spent, and the residue of the amount, the deposit amount that stays in environmental fund, is used for the expense of the system. Then the producer is also obliged to pay a fee to environmental fund, that is fixed fee per ton that he's putting on the market. So we have two, I told you, we have two different ways of acceptance of the beverages. The shops, when we first introduced the law, the shops were very much against the system. They refused to cooperate, and therefore we introduced additional amount of money that fund gives to the shop, because they are handling the waste. The shops told us that they cannot mix the waste with the food they are selling, and they have to introduce new workers. They have to introduce some additional space for storage, and they have spends. So therefore, the fund is giving to the shops 0.1 kuna per bottle they are collecting. So this is additional cost. For those shops who have reverse vending machines, so machines that the customer can alone put the bottle inside and give the voucher, and then he can collect the money at the cash desk. This is one way, and the other way is then, of course, the material go to the storage, is counted, and then again to the recycler. If it is collected manually, then all the shops have special bags that are given to shops from environmental fund. Each bag, when it is filled with 40 bottles for glass and 100 for PET, it is closed with this bracelet with the code, and then again these bags are going to counting center and then to recycling facility.
Alexandra, I have to remind you, I would like to leave 10 minutes for discussion.
Okay,
questions.
I will have yes, okay.
Sorry
Okay,
about it.
No problem. We have
people will leave
3,000.
the meeting, and I would like them to.
Okay, I will try to hurry up. We have 3,000 points of return sites, but 77% of waste is collected into 22 collection points. Other collection points are very small, and we will probably close them. 29 contracted collectors and 5 recycling companies, which has best available techniques. So what is the efficiency? Here you can see the efficiency of collection from 2060 to from 2020.
I think the presentation is stuck again on slide number 6.
I'm sorry. Can you see it now?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, here is the efficiency. As you can see, this deposit system is about more than 80% efficient, which is very good. But we have a problem. Here is here are the data from from European statistic side. And as you can see, there are what we have very small average amount that is put it on the market. It is not real, but this is the data that we are officially have in fund. What does it mean? That means that more than almost more than 60% of producers is not paying the system, and we don't know who they are. So here we are very bad. Officially, we have 230,000 tons per year of packaging, but it is estimation that we have 700 to 8,500 tons of year of packaging, and this is mostly ending up in the beverage that is the packaging that is not in deposit system, ending up in municipal solid waste or in separate collection. I will skip this slide since we are in the hurry. So our environmental fund is collecting only this amount, and only this amount is in 46,000 is in deposit system, and 90,000 tons is from some companies. 60,000 tons is only collected in a separate collection system door to door, and all other is in municipal solid waste. This deposit system is very efficient, of course, but here you can see that here the left side you can see that what are the cost per ton, what the producers and consumers, of course, are paying for each material. So for PET, it is more than 2,000 euro per ton. For aluminum cans, it is 5,000 euro per cans. It is very, very expensive. So environmental fund is collecting from packaging in deposit 33% of amount, and out of deposit, so the companies that are paying is 67%. The overall expense for deposit is 77%, and the residue is out of deposit. So this deposit system is very efficient, but very, very, very expensive. So here you can see the distribution of expense between the materials. So the most expensive is PET, and the glass and the aluminum are here are almost the same. So what are the positive and the negative aspects of this system here? We have very high collection rates. The country is very clean. We don't have a packaging in from the beverage in our municipal solid waste or the residual waste. Our municipal solid waste is not appropriate for incineration because there is no calorific value, because there is no PET. Now when the single-use product directive came into force for beverage, for single-use plastic, we are fulfilling the target, so we solved one problem. So what is negative aspect of this? Croatia now, when the producers supposed to pay only for deposit for this deposit system, it was okay, but now we are introducing fees for separate collection that guys were talking before, and all other things, landfill taxes and everything, and the overall system is becoming too expensive, and probably this will lead to the collapse of the system in 1 year, and these prices and everything. But since we are talking about social component of this system, since we are not so rich country, we have lots of poor people, lots of people who are in retirements, and they don't have a sufficient amount of money for living. They started to collect, so these people are collecting bottles from the containers. They are selling that and living from from that. We have, it is approximation that we have more than 5,000 people that are collecting these bottles from the bins. Some of them are really poor and really poor. And there are also some organized groups that are collecting these bottles. So this is an informal sector that is dragged into a real sector. But what we succeeded, although they are not a formal one, they are bringing all the bottles and all the waste is ending up in the system. They are collecting approximately 100 to 200 bottles per day. They have their regions, they are divided into the cities, very organized. And this job became a social category. The good side is that the bottles are ending up in the system. Here you can see the pictures, how they're waiting. I'm finished, Ivan.
Thank you so much, Alexandra.
But it was short.
You introduced us to a scheme which is good for, I would say, beginners or middle-income country that has to follow the EU directive, and where the informal sector is really active. And at this point, I will open up the discussion for questions for Alexandra as well as for Vanya, which is still with us. And I will appreciate if you will stay a little bit longer so we can listen to each other. So you can open. Okay, you know what? We will use the raise hand. If someone wants to ask question. No one. Okay. Isam, I think that you are my partner to as someone who lives in a country which is not located in Europe and would like to react, maybe a little bit jealous, or how is it in your region?
Yes, thank you, Riva, and thank you for all the speakers who joined us today. It's really insightful. I would also echo what Riva has started her discussion right from the beginning. Where countries like us here, I would say in the Middle East and probably somewhere else who are somehow kind of backwards, it's really interesting that we are looking at this perspective and learn from the implementation of basically the pay as you throw. Probably one of the things that we are at this particular stage right now, we haven't introduced any fees for the collection of waste. I mean, like there are discussions right now at the cabinet of the ministers, but so far no implementation. It's fully subsidized by the government. Somehow we have intimidated the idea of EPR. And then, I mean, like it's kind of, we are facing challenges in terms of how we collect these. So with the EPR is one aspect. It's just that it would be really interesting to know when it comes to the payment, how do you collect these payments? How are the charges? I recall at one visit while I was in Portugal, they have introduced payment of waste management fees through the basically the electricity bill. But then how do you charge when it comes to the collection of let's say, recyclables? How do you collect those payments? I mean, I'm sure an investment is required when it comes to the system to do that. Maybe if we could hear some insights of the countries who are present here and how do they do it, it would be really good.
Zoe, you have a question, I see.
Yeah, just wondering from Alexander, yeah, whether you recommend deposit return schemes. I think you've answered in the chat.
Yes, yes, I saw the question. You know, I was lucky in 2006 to be in the team who was negotiating to EU, and then we had one. I calculated what I was in charge to calculate different efficiency of different systems, and my conclusion, I'm an engineer, was that the best system is door-to-door collection. It was the cheapest, appropriate for Croatia. And then my boss came, and I said the deposit system is very efficient, but it is very expensive. And then he said, if we succeed to clean the country in very short time, and everybody will see that, then we will have open door to introduce all other systems without interruption. If we don't succeed that, then we will have problem with every other category. And he was right. The success we achieved in 3 months, it was so visible. Then every other step that we started to introduce, tires, electronic waste, everything, it was open space. It depends what you want to achieve. What is your goal? What we made, Croatia don't have an incineration plan. And it is not feasible for us to make an incineration plan because our waste is not so, there is no PET, and PET gives an energetic value. You know, I was thinking Germans, Austrians, they also have PET. They can introduce easily deposit system like ours with very big efficiency, but they have lots of incineration plants. And if they do that, then the incineration plants will go down. So it depends how rich you are and what you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
Yes, yes. I wanted to ask you. I wish it will be the answer to my question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So I've got 2 questions now. I just like to answer. So answering Assam. So when you have in Europe, we have producer responsibility. Most countries have, so it's extended producer responsibility, which means that the producer needs to be responsible, has to be responsible within the system for their waste phase of their products.
Yes.
This means that they must pay the municipality for the cost that the municipality pays to collect the recyclable waste on behalf of those producers. Before the last revision in 2018, there was no format, no framework in the EU legislation to describe the full responsibility of such an EPR organization. And so in every country, it was different. You have Belgium, who pays, has always had a very close relationship with a contract with every municipality, and they have only one EPR system for packaging. I'm talking about packaging here. And they pay 80% of the cost of collecting the separately collected waste to the municipality. This is the requirement in the new Waste Framework Directive that we are implementing now, that member states are implementing now. So basically, the municipality does not invoice the citizen for the separate collection of recyclable waste, whatever is sorted out of the mixed waste. They invoice the producer through the extended producer responsibility system. And each producer pays their own fee to the extended producer responsibility system, depending on how much packaging of what type, what material they put on the market every year.
Exactly.
So just quickly to respond to the waste incineration issue. There's so much plastic. Waste incineration plants cannot take more plastic. They don't want plastic. They don't burn PET. They don't want to burn PET. Germany has both incineration plants. They have a pay-as-you-throw system, and they have a deposit refund system. So a DRS is not dependent on whether your country is poor or rich. If you look at the proper, so not dumping, but a proper landfilling cost, the cost of landfilling is much higher than the cost of doing the right thing. Because if you have an EPR system, if you make the producer responsible for everything they put on your market, this is not a cost to the country. You can negotiate the payment of either 80% or 100% of the costs of collection by the municipality. Then the EPR system can recover some of this cost by selling the material that they get from the municipalities. And this labeling system, the harmonization of separate collection, this is all supposed to increase the quality and the quantity of separately collected waste for recycling, which will increase the amount that these EPR systems can earn by selling that waste. So it's all connected.
Yes, yes, I know, because Environmental Fund is doing exactly that. It is exactly as you described, but with only one difference. It is called extended producer responsibility, and producers are paying to the fund all the costs and everything. But at the end, it is not paid by the producer. The producer, all the costs he has, put that in the product we pay when we buy a product. Do you agree?
Well, obviously.
Yes. Then what is happening now in Croatia? We are calculating. I am calculating with my team. Now we will start through the extended producer responsibility part, pay the part of the fee to the municipalities. For the packaging, they are collecting in a separate thing. So now we are calculating the costs, and the costs are enormous. When we introduce that, as you saw, that as you told, that we for all the what they put it on the market, and then we divide it into amounts, it will be huge raising of the prices here in Croatia, and I don't know if we can afford it. It is too expensive. I agree that it has to be done. I'm not talking about PET. When you have the systems, I made some calculations. When you have a deposit system, when you are removing PET from the system, and you don't have a deposit system, the composition of municipal solid waste is different regarding the calorific value. It is for sure that. So it is a very complex issue. It is not so simple that producer is paying. You know, when now we introduce for VEE some additional taxes through the extended producer responsibility. That means that this cell phone will be more expensive for that amount, and I will pay that when I buy the cell phone. So it is not the producer, it is me that I'm paying. For me, it is more expensive.
But hang on a minute, because that is an embedded cost for the company, if you allow me to answer. But who is paying into your environmental fund now? Citizens or the producers?
I am paying to the producer, and producer is paying to the citizen, to the fund. Producer is paying.
Yes, okay, but you're saying
I have to interrupt you. Maybe you can go on later, because I saw that Georgina wanted to ask something, but she left eventually.
Okay.
So I'm just I'm sorry about it. But if anyone else wants to comment, make a comment. I see that Susanna put a comment regarding Portugal. I think that she wanted to refer to your something that you said before, Vanya. And I really encourage you to go on and talk to each other. Tomorrow, I think that we will email each other. So each one of us will have the email address of the other participant, so we can put questions or continue with this meeting for, I don't know, as long as we are friends and working together. I would like to finish because due to the time framework, we have to finish, and I would like to respect it. If that will be necessary, we will organize another meeting according to the questions that are coming from the chat. Saika, if you can leave the chat open for people that still want to get some answers, that will be appreciated. And I would like to thank everybody for joining us. And we will leave the conversation open for other people, but if you want to leave, leave. And have a good evening. See you soon in person, I hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Riva. See you.